Okay, I think everything is okay here. Let me just see. Okay, yep. Okay, so today we're going to... 1 second. Now I'm ready. Now I'm ready. This also gives me a nice way to check the delay, which is not a lot. That's nice. Today we're going to master all of this bunch. All of these tracks here. So, to be honest, I don't really know what I'm doing with this, with the mastering. I've never done mastering to this scale. I've only done individual tracks. And the problem that I might be running into is, as you can see, this one is a lot quieter, or for example, this one is a lot quieter than this one here. This waveform looks a little bit messed up. So we need to do something that makes it so that everything kind of is the same in loudness to begin with, right? Like you want the same loudness going into your master chain so that when you get out of your master chain, or you set up different master chains, it depends a little bit on how we're going to do it. Maybe we need to find different solutions for different tracks. At the end of the day, what we want for an album like this specifically is that we want all of the tracks to have the same loudness, right? That's the point of an album. I'm gonna make it wide so it's a little bit easier to see the waveform later. That being said, as you can see, the numbers really don't line up here because we have 10 tracks and the last track is number 13. The reason for that is because I've already gotten 3 of them mastered. This one, oh, I'm quickly just going to dump them in and see which one is which. I think these are the final ones. Obviously, once the album comes out, I'm going to look for more, but I believe these are the final masters for the tracks that I already have. So these are the ones that we don't have to do, but we have to take them into account. The reason why I have these already mastered is because I had them done by an actual mixing engineer and mastering engineer, so that I had a reference for the rest of the album, was the plan. Okay, so what that means is that we need to know the loudness of all of this. Now, you can go in here and you can spend the 80 odd minutes having a loudness analyzer analyze every individual track, right? So you put a loudness plugin on your master and then you let it go and you look at what your integrated loudness is for every track and you go on like that and that. Or if you're a Reaper user, you can just go in here, open up Reaper, open up all your tracks like this, then you can go into actions, calculate, and then you go into this one and run. And it will just give you a nice output of all of the loudnesses that you have. Here you can see these are all of the tracks. And it will do that a lot faster than if you were to play them through and have a loudness analyzer plugin do all the work for you. So I already did this. And I ended up with this graph here. Now the names are a little bit truncated, but that doesn't matter. What else? Is there anything else that is important? So what I want to do is I think, want to match all of the integrated LUF values. I think those are the key values that we're going to look at, because that takes into account the whole track, and it is a very it's a very good consideration of perceived loudness. I could like or have them all peak at the same volume, but that doesn't give you an idea of the actual perceived loudness, right? That's just like the highest level that it goes at. So what we want is we want to make it so that all of these have the same loudness to begin with. Now there's a fun thing you can do. If I go back to this file here, if we have this integrated loudness of -20 here, say. And we have this, which is -17. Just for a sake, it's 16.9, but let's say -17. If I boost this track, this one here, by 3 dB, then it will also be boosted by 3 LUFS integrated. So a boost in dB is linear, is like a linear relationship to a boost in LUFS, is what I'm saying. And we can make use of that. We can say, okay, for this track to be as loud as this track, we need to just put 3.1 dB in there, and then it becomes the same loudness, the same integrated LUFS. So that's what we're going to do first. I am going to try to get them all to -20 to start off with. I think that's a nice starting point. The second thing, which I already did, let's quickly go over this. It might be good to just have another check at this. I set up a menu, by the way. This is from Live Enhancement Suite. For anyone who doesn't know, where did I put this? Let's throw that on audio track instead of here. We call this check. If you, I've set it up so this is LES. Anybody who uses Ableton, download Live Enhancement Suite. It's the program by Dylan Talchief, the YouTuber who also does like Ableton stuff. So you double click and this gives me access to all of my instruments. So if I, or like any VST or even effects and stuff like that, if I double click and I want a serum, I can just go in here and it pops a serum up on the new track. If I want to add something on an existing track, I keep it selected and say, I don't know, distortion wave folder. There's a wave folder. Get this. This is a tip for people who use Ableton. Hello, Steels. Steven. Hello, Mylogify. Nice to see you all here. Let's start by looking at the tonal balance between all of my tracks. I already did this in my mix prep, but I just want to go over what I did so you guys can see what I did. What I essentially did is I went into my first mix. That's why you see so many mixes in here. And I imported it. I imported all of my reference tracks, which I have here, like from the full tracks, whichever one that I wanted to reference against, say this one and this one. And then it will analyze them. I'll give it a second to analyze so you can see what's going on. And then I try to kind of match up the curves, obviously not exactly. I try to have it all be a little bit similar and not too much change. What I want to do now is I want to make a comparison between my different reference tracks, which is something that I haven't done yet because I wanted to do it in this stream so that you guys could see it. So this only accepts 8, which means I'm going to double this, and I think I'll do like 5 and 5. So I'll have 5 analyze in here, and then 5 in here as well. Which tells me that there is a little bit of a difference between everything, but almost all of it is like tonally nice put together. Maybe what I would look at is the memories mix that I have, getting rid of some of the 500 Hertz, let's say. I'm actually going to write this down. I'm going to see if there's something that like really stands out to me. I'm just going to quickly write down a few of the things that I want to change. There's not a lot of stuff that I would change here, maybe. Let's see, what are those lower two? Hallucinations and the awakening is these, right? I could give them a little bit more here, or I could take the other ones down a bit. It doesn't really matter. I would maybe squeeze them together a bit more, like have them meet halfway in between. Again, at these small levels, it doesn't really matter, I think. Like, it's not that big of a difference, right? Part of the reason why you have different tones and different spectra for all of your different tracks is because all of your different tracks are different. I think that's fairly normal. Mind B and Guido, how are you doing? Nice to see you guys. But I could definitely see that we could maybe take away a little bit of the 500 region from here, from memories. And then maybe also from this one, which is feelings. There's a few tracks that have a little bit, lack a little bit in high end maybe. It's just feelings, and particularly this one. This one is like really low. Dark Times, which does make sense because that is a darker track. So I might keep that as well. Okay. So let's... I'm gonna do all of the masters like right here on the thing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to designate the... Let's first order this. Why is this not... Ah, this is... Quickly going to name this. You have no idea how many times I had to look up the actual spelling of consciousness. Oh, this is 9. If everything goes okay in today's session, I will be having, or I'll be posting the tracks later today, which means that tonight I can announce a release date for my album, which is very hype. I'm hoping I can get it out for Christmas. Normally they give you like 30 days, so that should be like exact, right? So we have the flow state, and then we have Dark Times. Again, for the people who are joining, we already have 3 mixes done, which are number 6. This is actually number 3, but I do have to change it because otherwise if you move it around it doesn't show. And this is number 12 for the album. So those are the tracks that are already done, and then this is Feelings. I might, thinking about it again, I might do like add a little bit of high ends to these 2 tracks because they are like significantly lower. They're also like skewed a bit more like to the higher frequencies. I would have it like maybe boost, where is that? Boosted at 7K with like a bell so that it peaks upward here and then down again. That should probably do the trick because then it also bleeds down a little bit in here. So maybe 7.5K. That is Dark Times and Feelings. So 7.5K plus, and Dark Times will be also 7 plus. So that's the start. Let's start by matching all of these volumes here. So again, we're using integrated loudness. The first one is at -20, so we just match everything else to it by like dB matching this. We imagine that this is a dB value, and then we can just turn it up and down with utility to get all of them to the same decibel level in terms of loudness. So we go to the Dreamer, which is at -16.9, which means that we go 1, 2, 3, 10, if my math is correct. We just sum it together, right? Yeah. We go to memories, which is 1, 2, 3, 4.3. This is 4.2. 420. Minus 4.2. Then we have 0.5 on hallucinations. The strange thing that you need to know about LUFS is that it's a negative value. So if this is higher, it is louder, but it's negative value. So your math like the math that you do is like different. So if you were to look at it without the minus, you would like add to it, right? In this case, we're subtracting from it because we want everything to hit minus 20. I actually need to put this up here. Consciousness. This one is very loud. Why did I get such a loud mix out of that? Strange. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6.6. Okay. Life experience. This one looks fairly normal. 3.8. Then we have the flow state, which comes in at 1.7 dB too loud. 1.7. We have this, which is 2.4. 2.4. You set up your loudness for a platform in particular. I'm going to master depending on the masters that I already have, which I believe were mastered at -6 LUFS, which might cause a little bit of a problem for me because these were done by a professional and I'm not a professional, so my mixes might not handle that. We'll see though. This is actually going to go up by 6 dB or 0.6 dB to get to -20 LUFS. So everything is now at -20 LUFS, which means that we can go into the actual mastering phase. Now, for each of these tracks, we're probably going to end up with different settings, but I probably want to start off by just kind of creating a starting chain that works for everything, just to test it out. Part of this is obviously for me to just learn what is going on, right? Like I'm doing, I'm hoping to end up with 10 mastered songs at the end of this session, but what I'm most interested in is that I learn what I'm actually doing here. And that's why I like to live stream this. If I'm making some kind of mistake, then you guys can point it out. I'm going to make an empty track just to separate things. And then I'm going to go into my mastered stuff here. I need to find this one. I need to find the oldest masters. Why is this one a lot older than the rest? Huh? Wait. I think (1017). This makes no sense. Why is the revision? I'm just going off the file date for me, so all of the revisions are older though. It doesn't make a lot of sense what I'm seeing, but I don't even remember what the differences were between these masters. I have a bit of a I have a bunch of files regarding the album. There's a lot of stuff here, and this isn't even. These are all of the final mixes. There's more stuff there still. There's the temporary mixes that I have here. There's more final mixes that I have here. There's all of the stuff that I have here. This is also old album stuff. This is not the art, don't worry. So I have a lot of stuff. I need to quickly look at which ones I need to get. I'm just going by the date. That makes sense. So I should have the ones from 17, I think. That makes the most sense to me. That the oldest files or the latest files are the newest masters. Okay, separate tracks. Couldn't it import one of... What else did I have selected? I've selected a folder somewhere. Okay. So these are my 3 masters. My latest masters. I think. So I want the loudness of these. Let's copy this over. And I'll just add that to the file. Man, Reaper, it's almost funny how many different things there are. They have this whole action list with all of the things that you can do. Because there's not enough buttons in the world to map everything to. Even though they have like all of this stuff and then all of this. Anywhere you right click, you can basically open up a whole bunch of different options. Also, by the way, is my camera still glitching here? Just quickly checking, sorry for the transition here. I have issues with my camera. You've probably seen it in the shorts. If you saw my shorts, you saw that my camera was doing weird stuff. It doesn't look like it's doing it here, which would mean that if I record my camera with OBS, then that could work. Which would fundamentally change my setup for recording. Because I record my desktop with OBS. So that would not be fun if that was the case. Or maybe I could get 2 versions of OBS set up at the same time. Which also doesn't sound like a fun experience. Either way, yeah, we have a -6 or a -7.7, a -8.5 and a -9.2 for integrated loudness. I assume that the other 2 LUFS values are maximum values, because these are, the momentary is, what is it, like 600 milliseconds, and this is like 2.5 seconds. I don't want to say something that's untrue here. Let's check Wikipedia. Is loudness weighting, that's not what I want. LUFS versus RMS, different targets. I don't care about targets. I want to see the different versions of LUFS. Integrated, and a specific amount of audio and profile. Master. Shorter sections of an audio file. Thank you. How short? Would be nice to know. Like Sweetwater is going to tell me. Enter LUFS, a practical example. I don't care about practical examples. I want to know exact values. Sure. The Sweetwater article doesn't even tell the difference between integrated, short-term, and momentary. I just want to know the values of timing. Does anybody know? Does anybody know the timing values that momentary and short-term uses for LUFS? Are you going to go for 0 dB peak level like those 3 master tracks, or are you going to preserve a little bit of headroom? I am going to copy this. So yes, this peaks at 0.0. I might look what the true peak values of these are. Does Reaper actually tell me? Does it give a... Calculate statistics when rendering. I want true peak. Can I go again? True peak. Oh. Okay. So it's actually going fairly far above here. I know very little about roughs. I'm from the RMS days. I think RMS, if I'm not mistaken, is like 350, and I think like the momentary and short term is on either side of them. From what I know, from what I know, RS is 650 milliseconds. The shortest LUF variant is like 250 milliseconds, and the loudest or the middle one, which not the integrated one, which is the whole song, but the middle one is like 2.5 seconds or something. Even Wikipedia doesn't actually tell you relative to full scale. Outnews units relative to full scale is an accurate definitions. Okay. Does loudness give us... No. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay. Wikipedia does have it. Momentary is 400 milliseconds. Short term is 3 seconds. And integrated is over a whole measuring section. But a bit of headroom tends to feel a little bit safer to you. Yes. Normally that would be true. But there's something that the guy from White Sea Studios says is, when you're mastering loud, right, like we're doing here for Psytrance, this is my primary mode of distribution is going to be on Bandcamp. That's where, and Bandcamp and SoundCloud. That's where I'm primarily going to get traffic. For any other platform, you could either get turned down by the platform, in which case you control the peaks, or you can get turned up by the platform, in which case you don't control the peaks. So what I would do is I just get turned down by the platform, and just that's it. Then the true peak going above 0 decibels or having amount of ceiling doesn't matter, because I'm going to get turned down anyway. I'm not going to be clipping anything, because any platform that does loudness compensation is going to turn me down anyway. For the platforms that do loudness compensation, it's all lossless, so it doesn't matter, right? It's all going to be, except for SoundCloud maybe? Does SoundCloud do lossless? I don't know. I need to... Hello, Alex. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter as much as people think, I think, because from what I can hear, all of the tracks that I listen to, all of the tracks that I have like as references, those all are mastered the same way that these tracks are mastered, right? And those include some very good Psytrance tracks, like Deep Jungle Walk. Look at this waveform. It's also big and loud and mastered and maybe even clipping. We could actually check that. Let's see what these true peak values are. Maybe I'm saying something stupid. Maybe what I'm seeing is not exactly right. But I did send these as references, so I'm assuming that the mixing guy did the same thing. I mean, that's why I got him, right? Let's see, run. Let's see what it... Here, Deep Jungle Walk, one of the best performing Psytrance tracks of all times. Do the platforms look at peak levels or LUFS? They look at LUFS, but LUFS and peak levels are one-to-one related. So doesn't really matter. Hello, Klaus. One of the best performing Psytrance tracks of all time is clipping more than 2 dB in true peak. So it doesn't matter, right? If Asterix can get away with doing that, then I can get away with doing that. That's kind of my thought process here. Maybe a bit stupid, but I mean, if it works, it works. Don't change it. So that means that we need to get, yeah, the difference can easily be 1.5 to 2 dB true peak. Yes, yes, yes. It all depends on like transients, right? Because that's where the true peaks come from, the transient. If you have a very sharp, very thin transient, then your true peak is going to be louder because it's the samples are like closer together. I don't know if that makes any sense. Maybe I can find an example for that. Yeah, so a sine wave, like if we look at the samples, those are like very slow. So any true peak, if two samples are below 0, any part in between is going to be slightly above 0. If you look at a transient of a kick, where you have very few samples between this part and this part, that peak can go much further. So if you have a very loud transient somewhere, very high-end information, then that's going to be a lot more of a problem than like low sine waves in terms of true peak. Anyway, we can get into mastering. What I wanted to try, and I don't know if this is a good idea, is to use, where do I have it? TR5 Suite. There we are. This one I don't want. I'm gonna do a review of this because there's a lot of things that I'm not happy about. The one reason I got this plugin, actually two reasons. One, it was on a big sale. So this whole plugin, all of these like things that you see in here, are part of like the same bundle, and the bundle was on sale from like 3.5 thousand. Yes, this is the bundle. It was like 3.5 thousand and I bought it for $99. So even if you don't like the plugins, it's still a steal. And even for that, I would say that it's a good reason to buy it, right? What I thought was that you would get everything and that it would just install everything that you have. Where is like a good example of that? Oh yeah, Hello? Did it just crash? Nice. Black Friday deal? Yes. I think it might still be ongoing. I think it also just crashed my project. Yes, I would like that back. It crashed for you too at trial. Well, then we're not using it. Apparently. I was hoping I could use it just to master it, because it seems like a very nice plugin for mastering. But I don't want it to crash anytime I close out of a... Quickly going to save this so that we don't lose anything. What I found annoying about this plugin is when I go in here, it installed a whole bunch of individual plugins, which is okay. That's part of the bundle. But not all of these plugins are included in the bundle. So it installed a whole bunch of plugins that if I open them, I cannot actually use. And one of the plugins that I was most excited for, that I actually had my eye on before I saw this deal that I wanted to get, was the Compressor, because I saw a review of it that said that that it sounds very much like the Distressor, right? Which is the hardware unit this is based off. Like so much that it's almost identical to the hardware, which in the software realm is very, very hard to do. Yeah, so this model has not been activated. Do you wish to enter the custom shop or try it out now? So let's say I go OK. It goes to the custom shop and it wants something like credits for it. Like, why? I bought a bundle. I bought a bundle called Max. Doesn't that involve everything from Track S? Isn't that the definition of the word Max? And if this is not part of the bundle, then why did it install with the bundle? I used the Distressor plugin from Slate. I've heard very good things about this. One of the things is this has a GB mode, which is like an all-in mode from the D1176, built into your Distressor. It has cool distortion things. I wanted to play with this. I thought I had either bought this when I saw it installed on my system, but I didn't think that it would install plugins that I didn't buy, only for me to try to scam me out of even more money. Like, okay, I get it. If you're a small company and you're just trying to sell your first few plugins and why is the Distressor so good? Distressor is very good on vocals, they say. It's just a very hard, like very strong compressor, right? It has a very, like you can do 20 to 10, 10 to 10, 10 to 1 is like very normal ratio for this kind of a compressor, which is not normal for other types of compressors. So there's some magic going on within the actual compression that this thing does. I'm not an expert on hardware, so this is all I know. Distressor is compression plus distortion. Oh, so it is. Oh, because this is this then part of it? Because what I heard from the review that I watched, the Distort 3 is like a tape distortion, which there's no tape in the actual hardware unit. The hardware unit from Imperial Labs is legendary. Yes, it is. Like, I know very little about hardware. What I know is that the review, the guy, you might know him, Glenn Fricker from Spectre Sound Studios, the guy that does stupid musician texts. You might know him. But we're not using this apparently because it crashes your system when you close out of it. So what are we going? Let's just use Melda then, I guess. There's a few things that I had written down that I wanted to do. I wanted to go into, let's do that first. Let's do the EQing first, the tonal stuff. This, you see, this is where I want to use all of those like hardware modeled EQs. Some plugin simulations have added features that aren't in the hardware distressor. Yeah, so I thought that the hardware distressor, all the actual like distortion that it does comes from the compression unit. Like just pushing a compression unit too hard, too low release setting, that kind of stuff. But on the distressor specifically, it does it in a way that sounds very nice. So instead now I have to resort to either these plugins here, or which other EQ plugins do I have? I have the TDR stuff. I have some stuff from Brainworks, which is nice. Like the digital. Oh, that's going to open up the digital mix, which I guess is fine, but okay. Buying two distresses if one day I will buy a list. Yes. I mean, if you had the money, I would go for the 1176s if you're gonna get 2 of them. But you know that's like a house. So let's just 500 hertz. Let's set a pretty like wide queue for this. Let me look at the check again. There's this one here. That didn't save actually. Final mix. So we had the first 5 in here. And then we had the second 5 in here. Is the right click plugin thing a script? Yes, that's LES, Live Enhancement Suite. It's amazing. You have to set it up manually. So it involves editing a lot of, like, I can show you. Configure menu. It has this text file that you have to edit, which is very annoying because you have to write down a name that you want to display and then the name that you want to search. And to get like an actual nice list, to make this actual useful, you need to sit there for like a day just indexing all of your plugins, which isn't fun. But once you have it, it's amazing. Like it makes it so fast to actually like work, right? So I'm glad that I did it. Let's see, what do I want to affect? I want to affect like from 250 here up until like here-ish. I'm just going to match these curves, which means that we need a little bit more Q, and we can go more than, actually not. Let's go like this, I guess. Let's have a listen to what that sounds like. I hope the microphone bleeding isn't too bad here, but I have to use speakers. That does sound nice. That does help, that little extra carve out there. I like that. I had it a few years ago, but Faceit always detected it as a cheat script. Well, guess I'm not going to be playing Faceit anymore because I'm not going to get away from this. Like, I got it very recently, I think earlier this week, and already I'm like actually in love with it. Like, I should have set it up much earlier because it's so much faster than going in here, going through the list. Oh, which EQ do I want? I want, I don't know, the Melde EQ. Oh, then I have to go back up. No, actually I want that other EQ. Honestly, I'm very content with my software. Yeah, no, almost all hardware is like mono, right? Because it's all based on the single channel strip infrastructure from old consoles. So yeah, that's normal. That's why you always see like two 1176s for stereo vocals. You see most studios having 2 of the same EQs, that kind of thing. All of that. Why was I? Oh yeah, I did load it. That doesn't matter. Next one, Feelings. We wanted to do something with 500 hertz. Let's go to Feelings. And let's quickly check on our check. You have to do it like this, by the way, with the analyzing the whole tracks. I saw the other day that Dash was just looking at the loudest part, which I think is not the best representation of your full mix. Because if you think about it, your intro and all of your breaks don't really have a sub bass. So if you're analyzing a full track, just do it like this. Like if you analyze a full reference, right? Like if I go into my references, full tracks, and I analyze a full reference, and then analyze that against only the drop, it's going to go and tell me that there's too much sub. I think. I assume. So I all analyze them in the same way. Also, this plugin is great. If you haven't seen it, this is True Balance. It's fairly new. Everybody did a video on it already, so I'm not going to go into detail too much. But this is basically like a mix assistant kind of thing. I actually really liked it's the mix that I wanted. Yes, this one. The other one has... I do have to load that from here because that doesn't load correctly. That's one of the annoying things with the menu. Right, if I go into EQ and I want to load the normal BX Digital V3, because it does it by search and the search finds this one first, then it doesn't load the actual correct plugin. But I believe that this one does like mid-side separately. Yeah, mono section, stereo section, and then there's a whole balance in between. Which, to be frank, we don't really need for this one. It's just going to be a slight dip at 500. It's not so much as the other one. Something like this. And then a boost at, what did we say, like 7.5k-ish? If we just do a normal boost there. We can do it with this one, right? Does this not have the functionality that if you hold shift? Yes, it does. Okay. Not that it matters too much. But again, we should get a fairly big boost here because we want to kind of go into here and up until like here as well. So right now it's a bit too wide on this one. Probably also a bit much. Let's have a listen. Oh. Did I get the full PA bundle? The what PA bundle? Do you mean the bundle that I posted on Discord? The very cheap discount. I did get that at the end. There's gonna be a video on that because it's terrible. Like, not that... Okay, the plugins are good. They sound good and they're amazing. But what I said before, the marketing that they do here is they install plugins that you haven't activated in the hope that you buy more plugins from them. Which I think, as a professional... No, not Trax. Which one then? Plugin Alliance. No. Oh, no. Spend enough money already. No, this one came with the... When either Isotope or Native Instruments joined Plugin Alliance. They gave this one away for free, including a whole bunch of other things. Like, I have a bunch of them that over the years, when new companies started to join, they gave away for free. So this is my list of PA stuff that I have. All of this they gave away for free at some point. Yeah, I don't use T-Rex anymore since they install all plugins. Yeah, I've already messaged their customer support about this, but They're probably not going to answer. It's every PA plugin. What would be the price on that? Because PA has become massive now. Like it includes the Kirchhoff EQ now, which recently joined. It's like 5-6 different companies. $700? That's not even that much. How many plugins is in the bundle? Mega XXL yearly. That's their subscription version. Which is not even product bundles. Products. Mega Bundle XXL. I'm assuming that has everything. 180 products. Does it give you an actual price tag? Is this the one that you... Or do they do only subscription based? 100% 5-star review. I always think that stuff is kind of funny. Does it like actually tell you what the fixed price is if this is the bundle that you mentioned? Strange. If I was a plugin developer, I would have my main big bundle be one of the center things I would sell, right? Or, nah, maybe not. I think, would you lose money on that? I mean, if it's a subscription service, then I think it would be okay, because then it's a reoccurring thing. List price is like 2.5k. Yeah, Plugin Alliance is known for having outrageous discounts. I think maybe 1 or 2 of these plugins I might have bought when they were on very high discount. Maybe the Black Box Analog Design. This guy, I got it when it was on discount. They might have given this away for free as well at some point. But either I bought it at very low prices, like they'll have a plugin that's like $300 and then they'll discount it to 14 or something like that. Kind of similar like what Waves does as well. I've got all of my Waves plugins in the same way. When they just go on sale, I get some of them. Yeah, this is a very good saturator. Very nice saturator. I really like that you're able to select between the 2 different tube types. For some reason they have a separate website for the bundle. What? Also, good recommendation, if you can get it, is this plugin here. It looks very simple, like just an EQ, frequency and a gain. But it's not like a normal EQ in that it creates... It does a very weird thing in that you can select the frequency, and then I think it either tilts around it, or it like saturates that frequency in a particular way. It doesn't sound like a normal EQ to me, which is very, very funny. But it does it in a way that, I mean, Alysa is known for their hardware stuff. I guess they got it from their hardware, the way that they implement it. But it's yeah, I should check the manual, probably. That would be a good idea. But first I want to master some things. So the last thing, Dark Times needs a bit of boost in the high end as well. The mix version. So we just set up the same setting. Again, fairly wide boost like this. Somewhat similar. Maybe a bit more in the Dark Times one, because if I remember correctly, Dark Times was a little bit darker. No, it's the other way around. So this one can go checking the manual is the best thing you can do. Mostly not many people do it. I have only read a manual once, and that was for the Melda plugins. What was the reason? What was I looking for again? Yeah, the modulation setup. I was looking at, I think Sound Factory, looking how I could assign parameters to the modulation setup, and like I legit spent like half an hour trying to figure it out, and then that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to do something that I never thought I would do, and I'm going to open up a manual. So, now that we have all of our tonal things fixed, what I guess I'll do is I'll just start. I mean, I could just throw on a mastering limiter and call it a day, but that's not really how you should be doing it, because if we look at prime example here, this track, look at all of the little peaks that are sitting in here. This is why I wanted to use the Track S stuff, because their clipper seems to be very, very good for a mastering clipper. Essentially, what you want to do is you want to do it in, like you're mastering in small stages of a few dB of gain reduction each, where you first go into a compressor, then into a clipper, and then in a limiter, so that each of the stages has to do very, very little. I always check it when I don't know what a plugin really does. Well, for me, the thought process behind that is that I don't know what it needs to do under the hood. I just need to know what it sounds like. Or when a synth has many different LP filters. Yeah, I guess it would be a good idea to do maybe a little bit of extra reading on manuals. Okay. Let's see. Do I have a nice mastering clipper? Let's start with our mastering compressor here. Shadow Hill mastering compressor, a very nice compressor. Again, this is from Plugin Alliance. Good. So let's just see. The idea of this compressor, as far as I know it, is that for both the optical stage and your discrete stage, you want to do 1, 2, maybe 3 dB of gain reduction. So that's what we're going to aim for. It's currently set into stereo mode, which is, I think, the best way to handle like full mixes. I don't know if I would want to go dual mono mode. And in stereo mode, what it allows me to do as well is it allows me to use both VU meters for different, like for one I can look at the optical gain reduction and the other one the discrete gain reduction. Do I have alpha compressor? No. Alpha compressor by Eliza. No, I don't have that. This is my mastering compressor. Let's find a loud bit of this track here. This track came out sounding very, very nice on my mix, I think. I'm just going to set a threshold so that I can start detecting it a bit. I think you want the optical to be a little bit less gain reduction than you want your discrete one to be. Put OTT on it. Sound goodizer. I'll throw on 6 sound goodizers and then call it a master. Okay. Now my question is here, do I gain stage this back up here, or do I just lower the threshold until this one also start compressing and then gain stage up after that? Like, does that matter? Any hardware guru mind telling me how it works in the real compressor? Because this is also based on a real thing. I think not TT. No TT. Check the manual. Let's see. Let's see. Is there a way to quickly go to the manual here? Usually you can like right click an icon. Manual. First thing that comes up when you search Brainworks Shadow Heroes mastering compressor is crack, which I don't want. Don't crack stuff. Yes, it's a one-to-one recreation of the actual hardware, for sure. Okay. Stereo operation metering. Sidechain filter. Optical session. Unit gain. Okay, so it's the numbers aren't actually dB, which is nice to know. The compressor operates at a fixed ratio of 2:1, so compression is achieved by lowering the threshold into a range. Minimum compression occurs at 1 and maximum compression occurs at 24. That makes sense. Compression by the means of our custom discrete voltage. It does not actually say if I should gain stage into it. Right? This is the same as that one. In use. Dial in 1 dB of optical gain reduction and 2 dB of discrete gain reduction. Select a ratio of an attack time of 30 milliseconds and a recovery time of 0.1 milliseconds. Set the sidechain filter to in and select the transformer matrix to taste. Let's just do this. Oh my god, yes, hot girl. Let's ban that guy. Hide user on this channel. Okay, I'm just going to copy over these settings, see if this is some cool starting point. So we want 1 dB of gain reduction on the optical one and 2 dB of gain reduction on the discrete one. So we do go like here. Still doesn't answer my question on the optical gain, but that's okay. Let's just lower threshold then. Okay, we want to set a select a ratio of 1.2 to 1, so the lowest here, which means that our threshold isn't okay. Well, we need to set attack and release as well. Attack of 30 milliseconds, which it is. Recovery time of 0.1, which it also is. So now we can just set the threshold. Okay. And then we need to set the matrix, which I think is this bit. Let's just look at the manual again. Transformers, you have remarkable tone over the tone and vibe of your music thanks to the 3 switchable output transformers. Okay. So we have nickel, which is the cleanest position. The latest distortion, this position has subtle attenuation of ultra high frequencies. This position has an additional Class A amplifier section, adding even ordered harmonics distortion, and steel the most distorted. Okay. Ooh, let's see. I find mastering class A units from Plug-in Alliance to be very well balanced. So that would be the iron one then. Here. Since you have some experience here, does it matter where I set my optical gain? Like, do I need to gain stage into the discrete compressor, or can I just lower the threshold? Does that like actually matter? Because now it's at Unity 7, which is apparently the Unity section. I'm also going to match quickly while I'm here these settings here, so I can switch between dual mono and stereo and see if that makes a difference. I don't think it will. So this would be 12. Also, I needed to set sidechain filter in according to the settings that I have here. Evading enemy capture. Now I should probably look at my thresholds again. Yeah, with the sidechain filter on there, we need different settings. This one. Okay. Which means that our if you use the optical, you gain stage the first one, then you use the discrete, you gain stage again. Plug-in Alliance have 2 different copies of Shadow Hills. This is the... Isn't this the one that does the mastering then? Oh. I mean, it says mastering compressor right here, so I assume that this was the mastering compressor. Is this not for mastering? Is this a mastering compressor that's not for mastering? Okay. Strange. Well, it does say that this one can do mastering, so I do trust Brainworks on that one. Or Plug-in Alliance. They also have a red Class A version. But this is a Class A version, right? It has a Class A transistor model. According to the manual. Yeah, this position has an additional Class A amplifier. Aha, so there's another amplifier after the compression stage. What I assume it means is that the original hardware had 2 different types of transistors. You could have them in 2 different types of transistors. And then this is the one that does not have Class A transistors in the compression stage, because it does have it in the coloring amplifier stage after it. Either way, I want to set this a little bit. Wait, I can just gain stage into that. I just gain stage up until this, so that we hit -2 dB again. Words from the manual. The unit's first compressor is an optical compressor that has a set ratio. It's followed by a VCA compressor that has 6 ratios. Yes. Yes, I have the manual right here. So that's not an issue. The only thing that I'm following is this part, which tells me that this thing can do mastering. It's the most subtle use of the mastering compressor. Down on 1 dB of optical gain reduction, which I done, and 2 dB of discrete gain reduction, which I also did. I did it through first setting the thresholds here, and then I had to compensate with the gain. So these were my old settings with no filter in there, and now with the filter in there, it becomes like this. Most stock compressors can do master. Well, yeah, but no. Because you do want some coloring on there, and you do want some kind of like gluing on there. Right? So there's a little bit of a gluing effect that you might want to get from like the gluing compressor that you would probably not be able to get from something like a normal compressor. There is some kind of magic to an SSL compressor, otherwise we wouldn't use SSL compressors. Same with a FET compressor. We use a FET compressor for a very specific tool, which is those very fat like drums, which is what they're known for. And a mastering compressor is a mastering compressor because it works specifically or particularly well on the master. And I think a stock compressor is going to be more of a like general purpose compressor, which when you have a mastering compressor like this, why not just use this one, right? It does sound very nice. I do like the sound of that. So the menu, go figure that the manual has some good tips in there. So this is our compressor stage, which is just gluing everything together a little bit for this track, right? Which means that our next stage will be our clipper stage. If it sounds good to you, there you go. Yes, exactly. So from here, I don't think it will be that big of a problem on this track, although there's maybe a few peaks that could become annoying, so like something like this here, right? The peak right after that. Those might become issues, but later on I have a track where I already saw that it's just a mess. You can see all of the like little peaks that sit in between here. That's why you have a clipper stage before your limiter stage. You don't want your limiter to hit on every single peak as they are now. You do want to clip them off a little bit with some kind of clipper. So I want to try to see if FreeClip, I think is the plugin name. Do I have those in Dynamics? I have my clippers in Dynamics, yeah. Even though it's technically a distortion. Maybe I should change that. Either way, this should allow me to do, yeah, some more softer kind of clipping, right? Not so much a hard clip. Is Ableton's Overdrive a clipper? No, that's an overdrive. It's an overdrive pedal. It's like a pedal distortion. I mean, the saturation has some clippers in there. If you want a like actual hard clipper from Ableton, then it's the hard digital clip. This is a like hard clipper, just like this one. But this one offers oversampling, which is something that you almost always want in mastering. But I thought overdrive is clipping. I think it's different, because you have like tonal controls and stuff like that. I do think that obviously all of the distortion algorithms or the distortion circuits that are used in like gear, they're all doing the same thing in that they drive a signal into an amplifier too loud. But there are differences between like a clipper, as in a normal clipper, and like an overdrive pedal, because you have like tone controls. Also, if you go to this pedal version here, you have the overdrive, distort, and fuzz. Those are the like three common types. There's differences between the distortion curves that are used here. It all depends on the curves, right? This is a different curve from this one, up until this one. And what we are doing is using this one, which is like the textbook definition of a clipper, where if it goes above the threshold, it just becomes the threshold. But there's like the analog clip, which you can see is like a soft clipper. It kind of bends into that, which would also be this curve, right? It kind of bends into here. I use the same clipper. Do you have any tips on which one is best for mastering? Let's see if there's a manual. Okay. He also has V-Clip, which is a new version. Nice. Products. V-Clip, Quick has Free Clip. Has some sample packs. He has a utility. Viper. Free Clip. Do you have a manual, good sir? Code is available there. I don't care. I want manual. There's a 33-minute review, which I'm not going to watch now. How to use the free clip from Van Audio in mastering. Free clip from Van Audio mastering is something you know you should. This seems like an article that is perfect for what I'm doing. This plugin works best right before limiting, performing soft knee compression that reduces unwanted harmonics caused by hard or brick wall clipping, which is exactly why we're going to use it. Hard clip doesn't make harmonics. Yes, it does. I read somewhere that overdrive and fuzz are clipping. Yeah, so what they're doing is they're technically all clipping in the sense that they're pushing it into a in some kind of curve that makes it louder and therefore squashes the highest values if you go close to zero or close to the ceiling. When we say like clipper as in what we're doing here is that it clips to zero, or it doesn't actually go above your zero value. What you have with a saturator and most other types of distortion is that you are kind of creating this kind of curve, but you can always go harder and thus get a louder output volume. With an actual like digital clipper, you cannot go above the output volume that is set in the ceiling. I think that's the difference. TDR makes a great compressor. That's one of the compressors that I have. This one. This bad boy here. But this is a compressor. We're now in the clipping part of the mastering session here. So, let's read this article. Can make your music sound louder without changing it as much and improve the quality at the same time. You should test that by yourself, by the way. Hard clip doesn't make harmonics. Go hard clip a sine wave and tell me how many extra harmonics you get with like 5 dB of clipping. Hard clipping makes a lot of harmonics. It's the hardest form of clipping. Wait, so is this the whole thing? Soft knee compression. It doesn't do compression. It's a clipper. That's what Dash told you? Well, then he's wrong. I'm sorry. I think somebody crashed a car and now I hear them running or like fleeing. Okay, so we're not going to do a hard clip. My question is, which of these works best for mastering? Not as much harmonics. Well, hard clipping makes the most harmonics out of any clipping. Like any softer curve like this should give you less harmonics for the same amount of like gain reduction that you're doing. Oh no, he's here. Did I call him stupid? I don't remember. Oh, he's here. Okay, let's just see what happens. I should probably lower my volume a bit here. Hard clip colors it less. Well, a hard clipper is also non-linear. I mean, any form of distortion or compression is non-linear, as long as you actually push it into the clipper, right? As long as it's going above this point in the curve, it's going to be linear as long as it doesn't go into the actual clipping part of it. But once it goes into the clipping part, it's a very strong form of clipping. Yeah, soft clippers are non-linear before the threshold. Yes. Yeah, so it will color the sound even if you're not going to the actual threshold, right? Because you can already say that this is our threshold. It's going down like this. So then, does that mean that if I just want to trim the peaks here, I should go for a hard clip? No? Because that's all we are doing here. We're just taking maybe half a dB out of it with hard clip is more audio, but it doesn't change the balance of the mix. Yes, that's what I thought, yeah. Okay, so say that I want to target this peak here. It's probably a good idea to kind of just loop it and see if I can get this to. Right, let's see if we can just take that peak and push it in there. Okay, so now this should be hard clipping, which should technically be the cleanest as long as it doesn't go over that threshold. Hard clip for peak trims, soft clip for tonality. That's what I thought. Yes, okay. He said that hard clipping doesn't make harmonics, and that's not true. It does make harmonics as long as you go over the threshold, which is the point of clipping. And then he said that was what Dash Glitch told you. So my response was, if he said that hard clipping doesn't make harmonics, then he told you something stupid, because it does. Like, that's the point of any clipper, right? That's what a clipper does. If you drive it into it, it's going to change the waveform, and therefore you're going to add harmonics. I might not be explaining it too well. If you want an actual explanation, I can put up a sine wave, but let's not do that. Drive a sine wave into a hard clipper and tell me that it doesn't become a square wave. I can get this a bit more. You did actually say hard clip doesn't make harmonics. Yeah, I don't know what the original discussion was for your original quote. I wasn't there. At least I think, as long as you're not referring to something that was said here in the chat. Now, for my mastering limiter, I think my best option might be boost. Like, I don't have a lot of... Oh. Wait, what happened there? My menu. Boost. Oh no. What's happening there? Boost. There's some issues with my menu. Okay, so the way that I've heard that you want to use boost is no focus, stereo link at 100%, fairly long attack and release, no emphasis, and then we just drive it in with the gain knob. Just give it a gain amount instead of, yeah, 32 dB should be enough. Like it's not like we're going to consume that. And I should probably set this to 0 because that's what my references are. Right, these are 0 dB normal peak and they were plus 1 dB true peak. As we discussed before, if Asterix can get away with 2.2 dB true peak in Deep Jungle Walk, then I'm fairly comfortable with having my true peak also be that loud. So that should be okay. It's probably time to open up the LUFS meter. Tools. LUFS. Want to set a target LUFS of -7, which is like roughly in the middle of the masters that I already have. No, even quieter actually. We want to set a target of like -8. There's kind of a danger with this particular plugin that Dan Worrell pointed out, in that with a normal limit, the point of this limiter is that it's, oh, I don't actually want true peak, I want normal oversample. The problem with boost is that it's almost impossible to get it to distort without like adding drive to it. It's a really well programmed plugin because it does some actual magic on it. But you can still ruin your dynamics in other ways. So you can still push it too hard, even though it's not going to distort like a traditional limiter. The problem is, with a normal limiter, you can hear the distortion easily. I wouldn't say easily, it's hard for me to hear, but it is harder to hear the problems with boost than it is to hear them with a normal limiter. And therefore, setting things like your release time, I feel fairly uncomfortable setting a good release time for this. I don't really hear the big difference here, to be honest. I mean, I can hear with very high settings that it starts to, you know, bounce my mix. But I don't know, like, between 20 milliseconds and 40 milliseconds, what the actual difference is. What is the better option between those two? This is, if you're wondering, this isn't a traditional limiter in the sense that it does not distort like a normal limiter distorts. So we don't really have to worry about limiter distortion here. We're worrying about the focus of like things that are like right after the peaks. Do I have like an actual peak here? Yeah, so here we have that little bit of a peak. What we don't want is we don't want these dynamics to either influence too much stuff later with, if you have a release of like 2 seconds, right? It's going to take a long time for it to actually recover that gain reduction. The other thing that you want to look out for is that it's not too short in that it doesn't immediately start to not gain reduce right here, and it becomes like one big sausage of a waveform. Those are the 2 things that we don't want. So it's probably a good time for me to check the waveform. Let's have a look. Now it's going to be peaking, which I know, both in true peak and in the normal sense, because I have a ceiling set at actual 0, which is what I have as a reference here. These are the already mastered tracks that I have for my album. So this is the guide that I'm just going to follow. I know it's not good practice to have your ceiling at 0, but if I already have the masters that I need to sound alike and to have the same loudness, then I have to. Right? That's kind of the... Have I tried newfangled audio plugins? No, I have not. And I also don't want to try. I'm kind of done getting new plugins for the moment, because like half of this folder I've gotten within like the last month. So for now I'm just going to chill a little bit on the new plugins and try to learn what I actually have. So this loudness analyzer. Yeah, it tells me true peak is going over a little bit, but that's okay. And in terms of levels, this is what we're aiming for. What I want to make sure is that through the chain we're not boosting so much that there's like no significant difference between intro and outro and like the drop and stuff. That does look fairly loud. I want to see like this fill here, which is like very quiet, what that does. That's kind of the volume that I expected from there. Let's see this break, which has a vocal in there.
When you were born, you know who you are. You know who you know, and you know what you want quite well. But after years and years, these clear visions start to fade. There are certain processes that can help return those visions, which we call an awakening. A moment in time where life is a clear, simple path ahead of you. You know where to go and how to get there for a single moment. Then, after a while, it all starts to fade again.
That's kind of what I am looking for. It's maybe a bit too loud here. I don't want to go in here and just brute force the gain down for those sections. I don't think that that's a good idea. Let's play a little bit again here. That means that our loudness is... It is then too quiet, yeah. So either because if we look at the masters here, these should also not be very dynamic then. Which, I mean, yeah, that's kind of it. So I guess if I want to master these the same way that the rest is mastered, then I would need to set this to, what was it, 2.6 was the value? 2.6. Which means that all of our masters will end up the same.
Because when you wake up and see the light,
nice and quiet before
everything would be better.
Apart from the vocals.
Wake up, son. You are born again.
Thank you. Glad that you guys enjoy it. That's why I'm doing it. Is that from the track, that click there? You guys hear that click that's in there? Or is that just me? Right here, yeah, there's a click. Little transient there. That's strange. By the way, I still need that kickstamp for the collab. Didn't I send that? Oh. I'll look at that right after the stream, okay? Sorry. If I didn't send that, then... yeah, I'll send it after the stream. What that means is we now have a basic mastering chain that theoretically, since we mastered or we put everything at the same loudness, should work. If you had Pro Tools, you could find it more easily. These kind of click sounds. Actually, I mean, it's something that you hear, right? Like, before I'm going to publish this tonight, if I end up publishing it tonight or tomorrow, I'll listen through it one more time, everything. And then I'll specifically, now that I hear that there's this click here, I'll specifically look for clicks and stuff like that. It's a wonder that anyone is still using it. I've not heard too many good things about Avid's like way of treating customers and stuff like that. So if that's all true, then yeah, I would agree. Next one here. So theoretically, I could just copy this over and it should theoretically still put everything at the same loudness. Now, obviously, I don't want to just copy it over, but I do like the idea of starting each one off with kind of like the same chain. So I'm just going to go over and check if these settings are still accurate. Like it's doing the 1 dB on the optical one and the 2 dB on the discrete one, like the manual says. Which, I mean, it's doing. That's nice. I've heard it was good for editing after. I have no idea. I've never worked with Pro Tools. put in one more bit of gain. So it hovers a little bit more around this -2 there. Again, this is not dBs. I thought for the longest time that this was. But reading the manual, it confirms that the gain and the threshold is not measured in dBs. It's measured in amounts. I don't know. It also wouldn't make sense. Like looking at the graph, if you add 1 dB, it should go from like here to there. What am I saying? That makes no sense. The ratio is 1.2, so ignore that. If you would do that by the threshold then. Right? No. Okay. I mean, if this first part of the chain works, we can just test the rest. It would be very nice if the chain just works for every track, now that everything is balanced at the same loudness with this utility. And tonally kind of like similar. Now we have... It still feels a bit boxy, this one, doesn't it? Oh, gonna make a group here so I can record anywhere. Look at this.
Calm yourself. Find the truth.
So here I just kind of need to do like gain reduction on the intro, because that's too much for an intro, I would say. Let's set up a quick automation. How am I going to do this? Because this is not aligned. Or is it? It isn't, but I can align it like this. I mean, it doesn't matter too much here. What I want to do is just...
Find the truth.
I guess my issue here with this track, now that I'm listening to it, is that my vocal doesn't come through too much. This first vocal here. Maybe that's something that I need to fix still. This part shouldn't.
Leave the past. Mark my words. And dream, 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 dream,
I'm going to refrain from doing the volume bit now, because I'm going to go back to that master to fix that vocal issue there. Which, I mean, isn't a big deal. I can just replace this track here in the project, and then it should still work with the master. I might need to slightly adjust this utility volume here once I do my measurement. What I just want to see is how every track sounds at this point going through this particular chain that we have set up. I'm scared about tracks like this, right, where there's a very big difference between just the kick and bass and the kick and bass with all of its percussions. 1200 OTTs. Who was the guy that did the video on like 99? Was that Andrew Wang who did 99 effects? He basically had a sound and put 99 different Ableton presets on there. He had like a series, and one of them was like 99 compressors, or maybe even 99 OTTs. He did like first 10 OTTs, then 20, then so on and so on, and he built it up to 100, all on the same sound, and it just messes up with the sound. It's actually a very cool sound design technique, now that I think about it, how it was, because at the end, with the insane amount of expansion that you're doing, you're bringing up things like the dithering and the final bits of reverb, which become like glitchy, clicky, what's it called? The kind of like glitchy, almost like percussion clicks and stuff like that. Oh, it was Mr. Bill. Mr. Bill did a video where he had an impulse, which he put through reverb, and then he had like 5 utilities all set to maximum gain, so like plus 35, like this. And then you obviously turn it off when you record. But then he pushed it into a limiter. So what that would do is you would have your reverb, and then the last bit of that reverb would be like a little bit of a glitch or like a click, and you would resample that, because you're like pushing it up by hundreds of dBs at that point, right? So you get the stuff that's normally hidden by the dither noise.
And how much we allow our past experiences to define us. We all remember what we had for breakfast this morning or what we did last weekend. It's only when memory starts to fail that we appreciate just how amazing it is and how much we allow our past experiences to define us.
Is it just me or are the percussions? Yeah, so here it's just starting to, I think, break down. This is still good. I put 500 multiband splits and then made an IR out of it. Nice. Ooh, here is an idea. What if, instead of spending a very long time setting up all your filters for your baseline, you just do it once and then make an IR out of it and then use that? Would that work?
But memory is not always.
There's something weird about the percussions in this bit. Let's listen here. It's like everywhere. Like, I like how it sounds in the mix here. I mean, no, wait. It's the same thing. The 16 note hats sound too loud. It shifts like my it doesn't sound like the offbeat is the focus, right? Which is normally what you would want with your open hi-hats. Sounds very strange. Okay, so this is a mix to look at as well. Thus far, they all have issues that I still need to look into. But they're all things that I could do in a very short amount of time, hopefully. Let's go to the next one and see what time perception sounds like. Now, this mix came out as one of my bests because I was really unhappy with the production at the time that I did, or the production mix at the time that I did this production. But remixing this track made it sound very, very nice. Let's hope that it survived this master.
Is the speed of time variable? Or does our perception of time change with time itself?
This is probably my favorite mix. One of the things to check is if your kicking bass isn't messed up by any hidden filter somewhere. It all seems to be sounding very, very nice.
Time perception.
Okay, so this bit is nice.
Can you tell me the time? I feel like it's moving faster and 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 faster.
Okay, I think that's sounding nice as well. Actually, obviously I'm going to listen to the whole thing later, but for now I think that this is pretty close to done, in the sense that I can seemingly just put on the chain that I have now and it seems to work with each track the way that I wanted to. Apart from like some issues with intros being too loud and stuff like that, which we need to fix. Like the one for the Dreamer, intro in general is too loud, and in this one I'm going to just lower that sub bass that's in there, and it should be okay. This one actually looks good, like some nice going up.
Follow the path laid in
Here the percussion sound nice. I actually really like how those percussions sit in that. Here with the build up.
Hallucinations are perceptions that differ from reality, such that in most circumstances only you can see them. I find this to be a really good analogy to irrational decisions one might make. Does the person making these decisions see the world the same way I do? Or are they acting differently because they see different things?
And here we have that offbeat bass line, which I really like. This was like a last minute addition to the production, and I think it saved this track for me. Because it was a very boring track, in the sense that I had just the same drop repeating 3 times. This definitely sounds better. Okay, let's see. This is the bottom part. I want to see how this builds up.
Hallucinations are perceptions that differ from reality, such that in most circumstances only you can see them. I find this to be a really good analogy to irrational decisions one might make. Does the person making these decisions see the world the same way I do? Or are they acting differently because they see different things?
The guy I got these vocals from, the one who did the vocals for this part here and 4 tracks of the whole album, by the way. But specifically here on this track, it sounds very much like the kind of vocals that we usually sample for like what other guys? Like what's his name? McKenna, and Alan Watts and those kind of guys. That philosophical conversation of a guy who is high on LSD somewhere in the bush, that kind of thing. That's what I really like about, specifically his vocals really came out very well.
follow the path laid in
I had five people do vocals at the end, and his came out by far the best. And the one that I like the most will be the next track, which is I distorted the side. First of all I did some stereo widening on his vocals, and then I distorted only the sides, and then I did some kind of trick where I made it slightly more mono again. Bush Conversations, yes. this might now turn out to have one of the quieter intros of the whole bit, because we had to turn it down by so much. Let's see. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Replacing the kick in the mixing stage here, which ended up being a good decision because the original kick distorted.
Where is my consciousness?
But it still sounds so strange to me, this kick. Like, I know it sounds better. I know that it also works better with the mix because this kick had a transient and the other one didn't. So it was just completely the wrong kick. Because I'm so used to that old kick still. To this loud bit here. This is still one of my favorite like beat things, where there's all of the little plugs and straps in there. Very detailed part of the track. This will be the part with the vocals. I really, really like these vocals. Let's have a listen.
You know why you're here. Why you feel what you feel. We perceive the world the way that you do. Which for me might be different than for you. Well, it is consciousness. Consciousness is the part of your mind that makes you you. It's the part of the brain that realizes you exist. So we know what consciousness is, at least for the most part, but we don't know if everyone's consciousness works the same. Do you perceive the world the exact same way I do? The fact is, it's impossible to tell.
I think one of my favorite parts is like this bit here, up until the next drop, going back into the kick and bass. I really like this. And then there's this lead, which is crazy.
It is consciousness.
Go back into the vocals. Here the vocals are like almost completely on their own, which is also very nice. And then we just go back into that first bass line here.
It's my consciousness.
Okay. I also like the kind of roboticness of that "where is my consciousness" bit of that vocal, which I think was also one of the vocals that were actually spoken, so done by a human. This is the track that when I went to the studio almost more than a year ago now, he said that had the best mix at the time, and it was also one of the tracks that I had to do the least to actually get in the place where I wanted to be now. So who would have guessed that the guy with millions of euros worth of equipment, not millions, maybe $1 million worth in equipment, actually knew what he was talking about. Also, he had 20 years of experience and many hit records behind his name, so he knew what he was doing. Now maybe the bass is a bit loud. I mean, it works for the mix, but I don't need this waveform to be this loud here. So, like, I like it like this, but it wouldn't hurt turning it down a little bit.
Making the right choice is what we call life experience.
These, by the way, are my least favorite vocals of the whole album.
You want to experience what's out there, right?
Not this bit, but higher pitch vocals stuff there. Really like that vocal lead that I did there. Then we have, what else do I have? Percussions, and then this bit, which goes into the break. I mean, for break that's a decent looking break. It goes down a little bit. But it might have like the same intro bass as the same bass as the intro. So if I turn it down, I can turn this down as well.
Some say for every choice you make, there are two versions of you. The one that made the choice, and the one that didn't. These versions of you live apart from each other inside kind of a parallel universe. So no matter what you do, there's always a version of you that did make that choice. So you must ask yourself, why it wasn't you?
I think one of the best improvements I've made is to use it since I made this stuff. It's not build-up. I mean, when it's mastered and loud, it sounds nice, but
You want to experience what's out there, right?
okay, that's this one done for now. Oh, I need to live experience has some issues, and then we're working on the flow state now. Okay. That looks nice. It's gonna be obviously louder in those bits, but it's going to be expected. this whole track came from... I had a track where I had normal rolling kick and bass, and then I had like a separate second drop, which ended up being becoming this second drop. And then I rewrote the whole intro, first drop, part of the breakdown, and then build up into the second drop again. Because I couldn't get the main lead that I had in the first and the third drop to actually work with the rest, like theme-wise. So I was like, screw it, I'm going to drop. I literally just went into the project and went, okay, first drop, select everything, delete. Third drop, select everything, delete. And then I rewrote the whole track. So it was a bit of a fun way to write the track, but it ended up with a fairly, I would say, fairly nice track. It's not my favorite, but it's like choosing between the children, right? By the way, now that I'm mastering, am I still audible when I talk and the music is playing, or is it just you guys can't hear me? Yes, you can still hear me, or yes, you cannot hear me. Okay, that's good. I can turn it down a little bit. I'll turn down the desktop volume a bit, like 5 dB or something. Okay. Thought that I know my own productions. Yeah, then it's just two more. Dark Times. This was also one of the tracks that came out really nicely out of the mixing stage. This is one of the tracks we mixed together live. It did end up having a very strange kick transient, like also looking at it now, so that might... end up looking a bit strange.
You'll make it through.
Actually reacts really well to that.
Than you were before.
to hear this bit.
You'll make it through.
Feelings to turn into better people. It's only for our own good.
Here, this part is just clean kick and bass. Let's see what the kick and bass does. If you want to sample this kick and bass later in this track, then get this one, I guess. That's like actually clean enough that you could use it in a production and get away with it. Let's turn off the loop. I want to see the build here, which I'm expecting is going to be quite loud. Looking at the waveform going into it.
I know you've been through, but everyone goes through dark times.
Nice. The last track I'm a bit scared of. Just looking at the waveform, this one is the one that has the most issues in terms of like random peaks being out there. But actually if we zoom in, it actually looks pretty good. It's just I had to do a lot of like rebalancing from the production, a lot more than in the other ones. This track was like way too dark. When I initially mixed it. The idea behind this track initially was that it would also be a lot quieter. Because it's like Sybient. But obviously that is not a good idea, so I ended up not doing that. It does look like it reacts pretty well here though. My mic still disappears when it's playing. I think I used to have a sidechain on there as well, didn't I? On desktop audio. Compressor, sidechain ducking from mic. Yeah. Let's see. Is it now better? It's not a lot of cycling, right? Let's try it like this. Let's try it. If obviously if I speak into the microphone it does more, but then I can't see the waveform.
From day to day.
It does look like it's
Okay.
ducking a lot now, so that should hopefully fix the problem. Now it's way too much? I figured. Okay, let's see. Testing, testing, testing. Is that a good amount? See you, Mind B. Nice to see that you were here all the time. There's a lot of settings, by the way, that I need to change now with the new PC. One of the things that I quickly glanced over is I'm apparently streaming at 60 FPS, and I'm just getting a warning that my bitrate is way too low for YouTube, which I'd rather stream at 30 FPS and then just have the bitrate be okay. Yeah, no, there's no lag, but it is still like a detriment to the quality. So the quality of my stream, the quality of the visuals that you guys see, like the Ableton that you guys see, is priority over me than FPS, because I'm not like playing an FPS game or anything. It's not like a movie that you guys need to see like a nice high FPS version of what I'm seeing. I'd much rather have you be able to see the details more, right? There's a good chance that you guys cannot read some of the UI elements here because of the bitrate. Like the black on orange might be very hard to read. I try to have like either white on black or black on white, because that's usually better. But I should be able to get a better quality stream if I stream at 30 FPS. And at the end of the day, the FPS for you guys, it's like the last priority. It's actually pretty readable. Oh. Okay. Just going to quickly skip through it because I don't want to spoil the whole thing, obviously. I mean, there's still 3 more tracks that you guys haven't heard, so... For an outro, this is very loud, so probably at the end of the master. What I'll probably do now is I'm going to fix these issues that are still in the mix that are preventing me from finalizing the master. It depends on the size of everybody's screen. Yeah, so now it says it's back to excellent connection. When it drops below the 4,500 kilobits per second is what it's set at. If it drops below that, what you should see is that there's a little bit of noise, especially around like my moving mouse, or if I start zooming like this, this becomes an issue, right? That will translate into that will translate very poorly onto the stream. As long as it's like a static UI like this, after a little bit of time it becomes high quality, because then it obviously has the bitrate to catch up. What my point is that I don't need 60 FPS, so I much rather have that if I do a quick zoom in at some point during the stream, that is a little bit clearer than it being 60 FPS. Because at the end of the day, that's not what matters. So I am going to probably change that setting so that it becomes even higher quality for what I am doing stream-wise. Because it's, as I said, it's not like this is a game where you need high FPS to watch. I think it's more important that the quality of each frame is better rather than the amount of frames that I'm sending. That being said, what else do I need to do? Here, the volume dip. Okay, so this last bit I'm going to significantly dip the volume here so that it like really fades out almost. I'm going to do that all in a later project. What I'm going to do now, probably going to stop the stream here, is I'm going to fix these 4 mixing things that I've written down. Once I've done that, I'll push everything through the master again and then divide it up into individual projects so that I can potentially do automation, because the BPM is different here, right? If I set the BPM to be this project's BPM, then it's not going to work for the other tracks, and so I cannot line up automation neatly. So there's a few more steps. I'll just explain the steps that I need to do. Now that we have a mastering chain that kind of works for everything, I'm going to go and do the final volume adjustments that I want to do, which means that, okay, for maybe the intro here, I'm going to push it into the limiter with 2 dB less, and maybe especially at this outro, I'm going to go out of this limiter, or I'm going to dip the volume a lot here so that it's a lot quieter, almost like a long fade out for the album, so that if you were to listen to a playlist, that it takes a nice fade out and it isn't so squashed here, because it doesn't need to be. And then that's the album done, I think. The music videos are rendering. I am at the 4th music video with rendering, which is almost done. That's done in 6 hours. Takes about 36 hours per music video to fully render, which means that tonight I'm going to probably push this to my distributor, and that means that I can give you guys a release date tonight for the album and push everything out, start making marketing material, which is very nice. Very, very nice. It's actually on time with where I wanted it to be, because I want to release this for Christmas, right? And my distributor needs a month to push it, which means that it's to the day exact that I'm finished. Like if I was finished tomorrow with this, looking at it now, looking at the timing now, if I was finished tomorrow with this, I would technically miss my deadline that I wanted it to publish. Because I wanted it to publish on Christmas evening, because then I'm sure that I'll be with my parents, and I thought it would be cool to celebrate my album release with Christmas at my parents as well, just as a little bit of a fun thing. And it's a nice Christmas present for you guys, for all of the people that follow me. So all around, this couldn't have gone any better, is what I'm saying. I got to spend the most amount of time working on it, and when I wanted it to be finished, like exactly on the day that it needed to be finished, I'm finished. Because all of the work that I now need to do, it's like, what's that? hour and a half, and then distributing it all is going to be another hour to set everything up on the website of the distributor. As long as it hasn't changed in the last year. Because it has been a while since I released music. And my distributor might have changed some things. I remember the last time that I released music, they changed it so that they required a fee of like $1 per song. How do I get to my my parents' house? I go by train most of the way, and then if you by some reason need a mastering engineer, contact me. Well, we're a little bit late. We're now finished. If you said so at the beginning of the stream, I could have sent you these tracks. No, I wanted to do these myself. I wanted to do all of this myself. For future stuff, yeah, I'll definitely consider it. But to answer that question before, I go by train most of the way, and then my father just picks me up for the last hour and a half in the car. It really, the length of the train really depends. I've done it in 3.5 hours once, and I've once taken a day to actually travel from my parents' house to back. There's a lot more to consider here. Metadata, for example, is a great part of the late mastering stage. Could you elaborate here? Because obviously I'm not a professional, so I don't know what I'm doing. I could sit here and metadata is the information included in the audio files. Yeah, but I'm distributing as WAV files. Do WAV files contain metadata? Like, I know for like MP3 you can put in the artist name and the album name and stuff like that. BWF files. Broadcast wave format is an extension of wave. Yeah, so I have to distribute as normal wave to my distributor, and yeah, I have to deliver either wave or what's the Apple one? ATIF or something like that. There's like a version of Apple as well, but I can deliver as wave, and I don't think WAV files hold metadata themselves. So anything I need to send to the distributor needs to be WAV. No, I'm not using DistroKit. I'm using SoundDrop with 1D in the middle. So I need to deliver in WAV, and then I need to add metadata to the delivery, which I just throw on the website, right? I need to separately fill in the form with like artist name, album name, all of that kind of stuff. Once I go to deliver it to a different platform, maybe I want to sell this on Bandcamp, which I'm definitely going to do, then I could look into adding in the extra tags and everything, like adding all of the metadata. But for what I need to do tonight, I don't need to add any metadata to the files because it's going to be converted anyway, and all of the data that I need to actually include is separately included in the distributor's website. Yeah, so once I want to distribute via like Bandcamp, where I can just have people download the actual files, then it matters. But that I'll still have a month to do. For now, all that matters is that I have finished waveforms. All-in-one software for mastering. Wavelab. I'll write that down because that's interesting. It's definitely something to maybe look into, adding file metadata to a WAV file. Can you add it to a WAV file, or am I saying something that's not true? Because I believe that WAV files don't have metadata, right? Or do they? Embedding metadata into a WAV file. To WAV files. Yeah, it says that you should use BWF then, which is a different format than what I need to export for my distributor. So for the distributor it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day the distributor is going to put it onto Spotify and Apple Music, and those platforms, they reformat it anyway, so that metadata is lost. That's why you need to like put it into the form separately for the distributor. I was handed into clients multiple formats. Yeah. Yeah, but for me, what is important now is not so much all of this extra. Yeah, that's what I mean. The MP3 and those kind of formats, they do have the extra metadata where you can put in the like, what's it called, the artwork and artist name and album name and all of that stuff. But what I needed to do now, it's not important. So I'm gonna end it here, the stream. It was nice to have you guys all here, and nice to get some tips from you as well. I'm really glad that I took the time to learn, or not to learn, but to figure out how this Shadow Hill mastering compressor works on the sidechain and the settings that you should use for this one. Because I really like the way that this sounded on all of the masters that we put it on, actually. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here, and I don't distribute to Tidal, I think, but I'll have to check that. Either way, I'm going to end it here. I'm going to see you guys in the next stream, and then probably Sunday we'll continue with normal production as always, and that's it. Bye bye.